last time. That's how you found me. Let your love surround me. I was going down for the last time. Then you came, calling my name. You got the power to save me, and it's made me love you so much. Well, I'm learning to live. You got so much to give, Lord, to fill me up. You show me the right direction. There ain't nothing that I won't do. 'Cause with every hour I know that you got the power to save me. Making up for lost time, loving the feeling. You gave me a reason for waking up in the morning. Then you came, calling my name. You got the power to save me, and it's made me love you so much. Well, I'm learning to live. You got so much to give, Lord, you fill me up. Fill me up. You show me the right direction. There ain't nothing that I won't do. 'Cause with every hour I know that you got the power to save me. You got the power. You got the power to save me. And it's made me love you so much. Well, I'm learning to live. You got so much to give, Lord, you fill me up. Fill me up. You show me the right direction. There ain't nothing that I won't do. 'Cause with every hour I know that you got the power to save me.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Centenary United Methodist Church. It's great to see you all out there. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there, and a happy solstice. Enjoy the daylight, because it only goes downhill from here. So, no. All right, let's all stand up and let's sing, "Here I Am to Worship." Light of the world, you step down into darkness. Open my eyes, let me see beauty that made this heart adore you. Hope of a life spent with you. Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. King of all days, oh so highly exalted, glorious in heaven above. Humbly you came to the earth you created, all for love's sake became poor. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. And I'll never know how much it cost to see my sin upon that cross. And I'll never know how much it cost to see my sin upon that cross. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Once again, welcome to Centenary. Turn to a neighbor and greet them with Christian love.
Good morning. You can be seated for just a moment. Welcome to worship at Centenary again, and a happy Father's Day from me as well. I'm Reverend Michelle Hargrave, leading worship with Jamie Spade and the Friends and Family Band today. I invite the ushers to hand out the pew pads and sign them and send them down the row and back again. Let us know that you're here. We're glad that you're here with us today. We have some announcements in the bulletin about our life together. Tonight we're going to the Moondogs, and if you, I think we still do have some tickets left, but I don't know if they're still in the building. If you're interested, then let us know. But we're going to be gathering there together tonight for the Faith Night at the Moondogs. And next Sunday, if you come here at this time, unless it's raining, but it's not going to rain, right? Then you would be disappointed, because we're going to meet in Sibley Park for worship in the park next Sunday. And so we'll be, our 10:45 service will be there. Friends and family are leading us in that service, and we will have a meal afterwards. It's a lovely time. I haven't been to the park yet, so all of you need to pray for, I haven't been to the park for this event yet. So pray for good weather so we can actually do it this next week. So that's for in the 9 o'clock service we'll be here. And please pray for the senior high mission youth and their chaperones. They left at like 5:38 this morning from the parking lot, and they are headed to Harvest Farms for their 4th year in mission there. And I want to let you know that at the 9 o'clock services throughout the summer, we are going to be having, starting again in July 12th, we're going to be having some special musicians come in. This is a gift from the Trust, having a variety of music throughout our 9 o'clock services. And occasionally, there's a few weeks where those guests will be joining friends and family when the music suits the mood of this service. So we thank the Trust for some extra music this summer. And now, as we prepare for worship today, I invite Jamie to lead us in our gathering prayer.
Please stand and join me in the gathering. God's call is like the clear sounding of a bell that raises us to our feet, the eyes of a child that reach to our souls, the frayed edges of a dream that won't go away, the invisible touch of Jesus that heals our hurt. God's call is still ringing in this world. God's love is surrounding us now and prompting us to sing.
Holy, 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 I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, 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 holy. I I want to see you. Holy, 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 I want to see you.
You may be seated. Please join me in the unison prayer. Oh, holy God, you see differently than we see. When we look at one another, we do not see what you see. We see age, you see spirit. We see size, you see possibility. We see beauty, you see love. We see imperfection, you seek your creation. We see limits, you see hope. We see difference, you see the spark of life. Forgive us our nearsightedness. Forgive us for categorizing, separating, and making distant all those around us whom you have created, whom you have blessed, whom you have loved. Give us new eyes to see and new hearts to love. Amen.
I invite the children to come join me up front. All right, we're going to have girls' time here today, right? Yay. All right. Hello. How are you? Good. Good. So, do you think that God needs these things to see? No. No? No? You need these things to see, don't you? Yeah, and I do. What about you? No? No? God doesn't need glasses to see? No? How does God see? You think God has eyes? Mm-hmm. What does God see when God looks at us? Love. Love? That's usually a pretty good answer, whatever I'm going to ask you at children's time, isn't it? If you say love, it's pretty good. Yep. I think when God looks at us, I think one of the things that God sees is that God has the image of God on each of us. Did you know that? It's this old idea. It's called Imago Dei, which means image of God. And the image of God is in each one of us. So image of God is in you. Do you believe that? Yeah. An image of God is in you. The image of God is right in you. But now it gets trickier. The image of God is also in all of these people out here. And even the people who are out there in the commons cleaning up. Yep. Yep. And then if we move beyond the walls, outside everybody else in Mankato and all around the world, everyone has the image of God inside them. So I think when God looks at us, God is seeing that. Does God see anything else? Hope? God sees hope in us? Yeah, I bet God does see hope. So when God looks at us, God can see the hope of all that you can become, right? And all that you can become. Today, the story that I'm going to tell is about when the prophet Samuel first met David, who would become a king. And he was looking for a king, and he was looking very much with the eyes of a person. And he was looking at how tall people were and how good looking they were and how strong they were. And God kept saying, Samuel, that's not right. That's not right. You need to look at their heart. It's something different. You need to look at their heart. And so God was seeing in a different way. So that's what I'm going to preach about today, is how do we see the way that God does. We can't see into people's hearts the same way that God does. But God invites us to look past all the things that we see with our eyes when we look at people. You know? And you can trust that God looks at you that way too. All right, let's have a prayer. Dear God, thank you for these children and for your image, which is stamped upon them, and for all of us. Help them to grow up with all your love and your hope, and help us all to learn to see your image in everyone around us and your possibility in everyone around us. Amen. Thank you.
These are the prayers of the people of our community. Prayers of celebration for all the fathers on Father's Day. For Wayne and Alice Johansson celebrating their 50th anniversary. For Kelly Gage on his 90th birthday. Prayers of comfort for the family of Cliff Woodford, who died this week and whose celebration of life was yesterday. For Christy Gilbert's family on the burial of her mother, Ruth Fowler, yesterday. For friends of Elaine Zumhoff, whose service will be here Monday. The families of the 9 people murdered at Emmanuel AME Church. For Nancy Gage's family, she passed away last night. For the family of Crystal West, Dorothy Lindsay, Rita Wood, and Barbara Campbell's Aunt Betty. Prayers for healing for Jim Buckley, Dr. Jack Highmark, Dr. Paul Roseboom, Tammy Swanson's mother, Marilyn Schultz, Nicholas Templin, Gary's nephew, all those who are struggling with addictions, and prayers for our neighbors. Prayers for our youth and chaperones on the mission trip to Harvest Farms, Amber Frederick, Ben Frederick, Zach Kozier, Josh Kozier, Sam Scholl, Laura Scholl, Shaylin Kaluski, Shelley Lavin, Ryan Scholl, and Erica Kozier. Prayers for our servicemen and women, Jeriel Hess and Eric Peterson. And now a moment of silence for those prayers that we hold in our hearts.
Lord, there are so many things in our hearts and minds this morning, so many divisions in this country. We need to be brought together. Let us sing. Bind us together.
Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together in love.
Let us pray. Oh, holy God, sometimes there just aren't words for all we are feeling. We are reeling from the violence at the Emmanuel AME Church this last week, this week of the Juneteenth celebration. We are mindful of the record number of refugees in the world this day after World Refugee Day. We carry our private griefs in our hearts as well, our worries and fears. We don't always know what to say. Yet here we are gathered for prayer. So we try out words to make sense of it all. Mercy, grief, forgiveness, fear, love, hope. Give us strength to keep hoping that our world can change. Give us wisdom so our broken hearts can break open to new possibility. Call us again to your path and lead us on it. Well, God, we give you thanks today as well. We give thanks for those fathers in our lives and the men that lead us, care for us, protect us, and fill our lives with delight. Empower our fathers to raise their children with wisdom, strength, and love. Support them as they bring a new generation up. Thank you for the gift of their lives and their love. Today we offer prayers of celebration and wonder, of grief and sorrow, of longing and hope. Hear our prayers, all those we've named today, and take them into your heart and do your work of love in their lives. All these prayers we offer in the name of the Christ as we pray his prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. As I think of the many gifts of this congregation to the community, one of them I'm aware of is the gift of funeral hospitality, one which we have been practicing quite a bit in the last few days. Yesterday, we had a service for Cliff Woodford, who's a member of this church, but we had it at Bethlehem Lutheran because that's where his kids grew up. And so our women went there to help serve, and it was a good celebration of his life there. It's part of our ministry to walk with families as they do that. And then I went to burial of Christy Gilbert's mother, Ruth Fowler. Christy's our organist, and that is an extension of our ministry of care in times of grief. And then on Monday, tomorrow, we're going to host a service for a woman who has not been a part of our church, but needs a place for her community to gather and celebrate her life. And I'm just aware of all the different people who participate in those ministries and how much they touch people in our community. When we give our offerings together, they come together collectively and provide all these many ways that we touch lives in ways that we don't even know. May God bless our offerings.
I know you're discouraged, but you're not alone. There is absolutely no situation out of his control. One door may close, another will open. Jesus is healer of all that is broken, yeah. He will make a way where there is no way. Yes, he will. And he will bring his peace where there is no peace. Watch him put together what's been torn apart. He can soften up the most hardest of hearts. Yeah, he will make a way where there is no way. Don't you go believing lies, 'cause he's not forgotten you. There is gonna be another higher, greater place he will take you to. Watch him move mountains, ride you through the waves. He can deliver the darkest of days. Yeah, he will make a way where there is no way. Yes, he will. And he will bring his peace where there is no peace. There is no war he doesn't win. When at your end, he's just beginning, yeah. He will make a way where there is no way. Our only hope is in him. No matter what this life can bring, Jesus stands alone as the God of impossible things. And he will make a way where there is no way. And he will bring his peace where there is no peace. Watch him move mountains, ride you through the waves. And
He will bring his peace where there is no way.
He will bring peace.
He will make a way where there is no way.
He will bring peace.
We're continuing to follow the story of the kings in the Old Testament, and we're going to meet David for the first time today. Last week, Erica preached about when Samuel found Saul and anointed Saul. But if you read through the book of Samuel, you'll see that while it was exciting to have a king, Saul was kind of a lot of trouble and created a lot of trouble, had a lot of drama. And so Samuel and Saul were at odds, and God and Saul were at odds. And so at the beginning of chapter 16, God says to Samuel, this is after a really big fight that everybody in Israel knew about. God says to Samuel, how long are you going to grieve about Saul? Let's get on with it and find a new king. And then so God said, now go to Bethlehem and to the family of Jesse, and you will find the king among Jesse's sons. And Samuel said, well, if everybody knows I'm doing that, they're going to kill me. And God said, well, just say you're going to go and have a sacrifice at the temple that's there in Bethlehem, at the altar there. And then that'll be fine. So that's what he did. So Samuel headed off to Bethlehem. Now we know Bethlehem is important because it's the city of David. That's why we talk about it at Christmas. He's off to Bethlehem to meet the next king. And so he's got everybody gathered together. They've had a sacrifice. And after a sacrifice, you have a big feast with, so it's kind of like a cookout. So they're ready for a big feast. When they came, Samuel looked on Eliab, this is the oldest of Jesse's sons, and thought, surely the Lord's anointed is now before the Lord. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him, for the Lord does not see as mortals see. But they look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. And so then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And Samuel said, neither has the Lord chosen this one. And then Jesse made Shammah pass by, and he said, neither has the Lord chosen this one. Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, and Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen any of these. And then Samuel said to Jesse, are all of your sons here? And Jesse said, well, there remains yet the youngest, but he is keeping the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and bring him, for we will not sit down to this feast until he comes here. So Jesse sent and brought David in. And now David was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. And the Lord said, rise and anoint him, for this is the one. And then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed David in the presence of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon David from that day forward. And then Samuel set out and went to Ramah. Here ends the reading.
Let's all sing that together. Open our eyes.
Open our eyes, Lord. We want to see Jesus, to reach out and touch him and say that we love him. Open our ears, Lord, and help us to listen. Open our eyes, Lord. We want to see Jesus. Open our doors, Lord. We know you are knocking. To wait on the threshold in so many faces. Open our doors, Lord, and bid all to enter. Open our doors, Lord. We want to see Jesus.
So several years ago, Susan Boyle came and stood before the three judges at the British TV show, You've Got Talent. And she was, it was Piers Morgan and Simon Cowell, and I don't remember the woman's name of the judge. But so Susan comes up and we find out she's 47, she's unemployed, she sings in the church choir, she lives with her mother, and she's from a small village in Scotland. And she's kind of quirky and awkward as she's introducing herself. And you could see that the judges are kind of rolling their eyes and sort of making faces, and you can hear murmuring in the audience. And then they say, so what are you going to sing? And she says, I'm going to sing I Have a Dream from Les Miserables. And then they really start rolling their eyes. And they're thinking, oh, what are we going to get into? But we're going to see what, if Pat can get us to the right spot. Yep, we're just going to wait for it. How many of you have seen this before? I think it's worth seeing again.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by. When hope smiled, life was giving.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. I was young and unafraid. When dreams are made and used and wasted, and lost no ransom to be paid. No song and song, no wine untasted, but the tigers come.
All right. So did you, like me, I cry every time I see that, and I just get goosebumps every time I see that. That moment when she starts to sing and the whole room realizes that they have been idiots. It's an amazing moment. They have all judged Susan because of the way that she looks and because of the way that she presented herself. And when she starts to sing this beautiful song with this beautiful voice, they all have to look deep inside their hearts and say, oh my goodness, we had really misjudged this woman. Now, we should know that people who sing in church choir and sing in church and offer their gifts in the church can sometimes just have an amazing voice, right? And have amazing gifts to offer. But for that context and those people, it was an amazing moment. And the judge in the middle, she stood up at the end and she just said, I'm sorry, we misjudged you, and we have to look at that. That was wrong. You surprised all of us. And it's this beautiful moment of things being turned around. How can we see as the Lord sees? How can we see into a person like Susan Boyle and see her as the Lord sees? Now, I've been working, planning to preach on this sermon all week, getting ready for it, trying to figure out how I'm going to talk about it, and then Wednesday happened. And we all heard this story. A group of people in the AME church, Emmanuel AME church in Charleston, were in Bible study on Wednesday night, and a young man named Dylan Roof came in and sat with them for about an hour in their Bible study, and then stood up and shot and killed 9 of them. And we have been kind of reeling as a nation since then, trying to understand, trying to figure out what to do, trying to know how to even speak about it. And as we've been trying to find words to talk about it, there's been interesting questions raised, questions about the words that we use, like why, if a Middle Eastern man were to kill some people, we call him a terrorist, but a white man does, and then we ask about mental illness. How do we understand the extent of racism that surrounded this young man's life and that this church has historically stood against? There's just so many pieces that we're wrestling with as a nation as we have conversations about this, trying to understand what happened, why did it happen, why does it keep happening? I was aware that it's 150 years after Juneteenth when the military the government came into Texas and said, no, the Emancipation Proclamation is for real. We're really going to do this. 150 years, and we're still struggling with this. I was reminded as we were looking at this story this week that the AME Church is a cousin to the Methodist Church. It grew out of the Methodist movement. It's from Methodism. It's from Wesley's movement. But it grew out of it in kind of a shameful way, shameful for us. At the end of the 18th century, there were many free blacks that were able to were worshiping with the Methodists. And one day at St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church, they were kneeling in prayer. Richard Allen and several others were kneeling in prayer, and the ushers came along and said, you can't kneel with the whites, you have to get up. And so they got up and they left, and they started the AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church. The African Methodist Episcopal Church was started because the Methodists from 200 years ago were so racist and so segregated that they were not welcome in that place. So just the creation of the AME Church comes out of our racism as a historical Methodist church. And this church, this shooting happened at one of the foundational churches. They call it Mother Emanuel AME Church. So how do we see as the Lord sees? So we're following the story of Samuel and the rise of the kings in Israel. And in this story, Samuel is called a seer. He's a prophet. He's supposed to see as God sees, but even Samuel has some trouble with it. He anointed Saul. Erica preached about that story last week. Anointed Saul, who stood head and shoulders above everybody else. Samuel was taken by Saul's height and his stature and his presentation, even though he was being kind of silly hiding in the luggage, right, from that event. So Samuel is still struggling to see as God sees. And now, I don't know if God meant for Saul to be anointed. It seemed like it. But now God is saying, all right, Samuel, let's go get it right this time. And so God sends Samuel to Bethlehem, to the family of Jesse, kind of under the pretense of having the sacrifice and a feast. And so this is kind of a Cinderella story where all of the sons are paraded before Samuel. There are 7 sons. They're tall. They're strong looking. The oldest one is first because, of course, the oldest one would be the one. We forget that Samuel has gone to the tribe of the youngest of Jacob's sons, Benjamin. That should be a clue to us. But so the oldest son, and no, it's not that one. And Samuel's saying, oh, but he's strong, he's tall. And God's saying, you made that mistake with Saul, remember? I'm not looking the same way you are. I'm looking at the heart. Quit looking at what you can see. You have to look differently. And so one son, the second son, the third son, on till 7 sons come by. And everybody's waiting for the feast to start because the sacrifice is, there's always a big party that comes with that. So everybody's waiting, and Samuel's kind of frustrated. He says, well, everybody came through here and I don't see the right one. And then he says to Jesse, well, do you have any more? This is the Cinderella moment. No, David, the youngest one, he's out in the field doing the dirty work. We didn't bring him along because we knew you wouldn't be looking for him. And Samuel says, no party until you bring him in here. So they go and they get David from the field, and they have to wait, and we have to wait. We're waiting for this king to come, and they bring David in. And David is young, and he's probably a young teenager, and he is not very tall yet, and is not very impressive. But the narrator can't help himself, or is probably him, from saying, oh, but he was handsome. He was really good looking, because that does play a part in the stories of David. But then when Samuel sees David, realizes that God says, this is the one, and not because he's good looking, but because of his heart. It is David's heart that means that he is the right one. This is the heart of the king for Israel. And so Samuel anoints David there in the presence of his brothers. And not in the public, but in the presence of his family. This young one who had been hidden out in the field, not important enough to bring to the party, is the one that they've been looking for. How do we see as the Lord sees. Well, I think one of the pieces of helping us to see as the Lord sees is what I talked to the children about, is remembering that the Imago Dei is in each of us. The image of God is stamped on each one of us. Each one of us bears the image of God. Each one of us is a child of God. I know when I find myself getting irritated with people, or if I'm a really big crowd and I'm just kind of getting frustrated and irritated, or sometimes driving and getting frustrated with some of the drivers, I'll think, child of God, you're a child of God. You've got the image of God in you. It kind of helps just to remind me that, there is a spark of divinity in each one of us. Each one of us has been touched by the presence of God. And so it can help me as I am thinking about somebody else, and helps me clear my thoughts sometimes about people. But that's not all the story. I don't think we just look at everyone and say, all children of God, that's it. Because everybody has a unique individual spark, their unique individual particular way of being in the world. I think that God was not surprised when Susan Boyle started to sing that day. Not surprised at all, because God gave her that voice. And God had heard her singing in that church choir for years, and had heard her singing in her home, and knew that she had a dream of being a professional singer. God knew that already. It was the room full of people that couldn't see it until she started to sing. And God knew all of those people who were killed on Wednesday. God knew them all deeply, knew the gifts that they were giving to the community, the leadership that they had offered to that congregation for decades and decades, the care of their hearts, the welcome that they gave to that young man that day, the quality of their families that were able to stand up in court and offer forgiveness very, very soon to that young man. God knew the particular gifts of those people. And I don't know how we see into their hearts, but I do think it's appropriate for us to hear their names today. So I'll read their names. Susie Jackson, Daniel Simmons, Sr., Ethel Lance, Myra Thompson, Cynthia Hurd, DePayne Middleton, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Clementa Pickney, and Tywanza Sanders. These are the children of God who were killed this last week. And we know that God can see into the heart of Dylan Roof, the man who took their life. And we probably expect that God can understand why that young man decided to so violently embody the racism of his culture and our country. But we cannot see. We cannot see. And we are wondering, we are asking questions. How could this happen? This man grew up as a Lutheran. And we wonder, how can a young man in our world do this? How can this happen? We look for reasons and try to have some way to understand what went wrong and what the problem was, so that we can kind of put a box around it. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know. But I know God calls us to look beyond the things that we can see. When Samuel was looking for a king, he found David. He found David at the very end of all of his brothers. And God said, don't look at what you can see. It's what's in the heart that matters. God knew that David's heart was big enough and strong enough that he would shape the people of Israel and shape Christianity as well. Now, that doesn't mean that David was perfect. He's going to make a mess of a lot of things, and we're going to spend some time talking about that. But he also had a magnificent heart, a beautiful heart, and a heart for God. And the text says that God's Spirit was on him from that day forward. It's his heart that shaped the monarchy of Israel and shaped the people of Israel, and then continues to shape us in our understanding of God and our expectation of what a leader should be. It's his heart. God says, look with your heart. Look at the heart. How do we see as the Lord sees? I don't know. But I wonder if it makes a difference if we can look at both of these ways at the same time. We have two eyes, and they're set not right on top of each other, but next to each other with some space. So we have two eyes. If everything's working right, they both are zooming in on one thing from different places. And together then, they offer a fuller picture. So what if we look with one eye to see the image of God in somebody? With one eye, we see the image of God that is present in everyone that we encounter. And if the other eye, perhaps we look to see the particular, unique, beautiful, wonderful, or difficult gift that is that person, the unique character of that person, of that heart. If we could do both of those things at once, I wonder if that would help us to see a little bit more as God sees, both eyes coming together to offer a fuller picture. I don't know. But I have been thinking this week as we wrestle with hearts broken open, I pray that the hearts that are broken open can be broken open into some wisdom and some courage and some strength as we continue to seek to see as God sees, and as we continue to try to build a world where all can have the love and the hope that the children talked about this morning. We struggle to see as the Lord sees. May God give us wisdom and strength in that task. Let's stand for the benediction. I think church is a great place to practice this kind of work. Church is a great place to practice being with one another, looking at one another, and remembering that the image of God is in each one of you. Here is a place that we can practice that. And here's a place where we can practice understanding the unique gifts of each person. We can see the heart of people in a different way here. We practice doing that in this place. May we take that experience of looking with both eyes at the people around us and take that into the world. And may we practice trying to see as the Lord sees. And may that be a blessing for our world. Amen.
Let's all sing together. My life is in you, Lord. Here we go.
My life is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. My hope is in you, Lord. In you, within you. My life is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. My hope is in you, Lord. In you, it's in you. I will praise you with all of my life. I will praise you with all of my strength. With all of my life. With all of my strength. All of my hope is in you. My life is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. My hope is in you, Lord. In you, it's in you. My life is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. My hope is in you, Lord. In you, it's in you, in you.
We'll see you next week at the park. Have a wonderful week.